Richard Reeves wrote this landmark book of Boys and Men, talking about the struggles that men and boys are facing. I think it's called the Carnegie Foundation. They give out 80 awards every year of people who literally put themselves in incredible physical harm in a random situation to save other people, literally, running into the burning house, pulling people out of a burning car. And of the 80 awards they give each year, 70 to 75 are men. Men are more risk aggressive. So we pathologize male behavior. We all know that it was all men who hijacked the planes in 9/11, but we don't talk about the 340 firemen that died. They were all men too. And so we want to pathologize masculinity, but we don't want to celebrate it. We don't want to acknowledge that when Russians come pouring over the border in Ukraine, some of that big energy comes in handy. And so femininity and being a hero and some of the jobs that are largely dominated by women, they got their due. They deserve their due. They deserve more of it. But it's not a zero-sum game. It doesn't mean we can't lean into.
So what is going on here? This is Professor Scott Galloway, professor at some school somewhere. I don't really care. I don't even actually know if he's a professor, honestly. He could be an instructor, like I'm an instructor at the college I teach at. Most people don't know the difference between an instructor and a professor, but whatever. So he's talking about a lot of the same things that I talk about on my channel, about how men are not being treated fairly in the Western world. Men are being demonized in the Western world. And he went on the Adam Carolla show. If you don't know about Adam Carolla show, it's good. He has a good podcast, pretty good show. It's on YouTube, and I like to watch him, have him on in the background when I'm cooking or baking. He gets off into the weeds sometimes too much, talks about stupid stuff that doesn't matter, but he does talk about a lot of fun stuff and points out a lot of weird inconsistencies and weird quirks of our society and our culture. He's a pretty no-nonsense, practical approach to things, so I appreciate that. Now, before we get started, we need to talk about May. May here has a rare condition where she's going to need to have 2 lung transplants to replace both of her lungs. She needs $20,000. She's only got like $1,100, and only 21 people have given to her. So if you can afford to give a little bit to May for her procedure so that she can be healthier and happier, live longer, etc., then I will leave a link down in the description. All right, now let's get into some more of this interview with Adam Carolla and Scott Galloway.
A lot of men built a lot of the infrastructure with very dirty, dangerous work that only men were drawn to. Does that mean we need more women in those fields? Yeah. Should they have more opportunity? Yeah.
I disagree. You make women's work unnecessary work. Women focus more on the home and children, and I understand that there are economic necessities in the past for women to stay home, and those economic necessities are not as present today. But if you do that, if you make women's work, allow women to only work in what's considered unnecessary secondary income jobs, women focus more on the relationship. You resolve a lot of the problems that we see in the Western world.
But there's nothing wrong with occasionally acknowledging that some of that risk-aggressive behavior that requires attributes that are more common among people born as men, that can be celebrated too. And it's not a zero-sum game. It's not a zero-sum game. Gay marriage can take away from heteronormative marriage, civil rights can take away from white people. And to acknowledge some of the heroism that is more unique typically to males, 99% of combat deaths are men. If we're going to talk about the homeless problem, it's a male problem. It's men. But when we talk about problems affecting women, we talk about how society needs to move in and it warrants resources and intervention.
No, we need to talk about how men need to step up, how men need to change, how men need to be different in some way to support women, not society. We might say society, but when we say that, typically we mean men, because everybody will tell you the whole Western world is male dominant. It's patriarchy.
When we talk about problems facing men, it turns into a conversation. Well, what do men need to do to fix themselves? So I do think that we're having an important conversation of the fact that there is misandry out there, and we aren't having an honest conversation around some of the challenges that young men and boys are facing. And if you look at the data, it is rattling what a tough time boys and young men are having.
Yeah, this is accurate. Men and boys are having a very hard time, and we're told to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. If you can't do it, it's on you. It's all your fault. There's no support system for men. And we see that is very easily reflected, as we all know, that there are very few to no shelters for abused men in the country, but there's hundreds for women.
I'm not being bold here. I called F.D. Wilder, who was the SVP of Innovation there, and a guy named Kanuska Das. I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. And the thing about that commercial, I hated the most.
So they're talking about the Gillette commercial from a few years ago, which obviously was horrible, towards men especially.
Is there's a scene where a good-looking woman walks by, and the guy gets up to go talk to her, and another guy, the modern male, steps in front of him and goes, dude, that's not cool.
Right. I remember that part. Yeah.
And okay, said someone who's already getting laid or already has a mate or has a family.
Yeah, that was definitely the cringiest part of the whole thing. Maybe they were thinking like, hey, you know, this guy is just a jerk who wants to sleep with her. He's not actually interested in a relationship, so the other guy's stepping up. But it didn't seem that didn't come across. There's no backstory there for that to come across. It was all about, hey, don't just go talk to random women. What's wrong with you? It's like, maybe she would be interested in dating me. Maybe she's single and wants to have a relationship. I don't know. I mean, that's why I talk to women. People have gotten mad at me because, you know, I want to talk to women. Like, you just, how dare you go talk to her? I'm like, what are you talking about? I want to have a relationship. What's the big deal? I don't understand.
Are we supposed to like meet in the headquarters or the lobby of MSNBC and have our lawyers exchange documents to have coffee? Get this. The ability for a male to initiate romantic interest while making someone feel safe is a key component to success, romantically and professionally. And the majority of women will say that they would prefer that men initiate the contact. And guess what? If you initiate contact with someone and express romantic interest and they are not receptive to it, which has happened to me a lot, you're both going to be fine.
Oh, no. He said the quiet part out loud.
You're both going to be fine. And if you don't know the difference between initiating contact and expressing interest and harassing someone, you got bigger problems. But what we've told young men, including in that commercial, is that any sort of initiation around romantic interest is predatory. It's toxic. And here's the thing. The most important thing, the whole shooting match, the whole reason we have an economy, the whole reason we have media, whatever, is such that we can establish deep and meaningful relationships.
Yeah, he's right. And the men will understand what I'm talking about. If there's any women listening, I'm sorry, you might not get this. But the truth is, everything that has ever been done to make life easier or more interesting is to attract women.
And the most important relationship in your life is who you decide to have kids with. You're in that person's life for 20 years. And if you find the right person, your life burns a little brighter. And if you find the wrong person, you know, your life's just going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. And the key to punching above your weight class, romantically and economically, is taking uncomfortable risks. And what I tell young men, and what I think that these organizations need to stop doing, is that the ability to be bold and initiate contact, not only with romantic interests, but mentors, friends, potential jobs, that's the definition of success. That's how you develop deep and meaningful relationships. So when they pathologize it and make it sound like we're predators, it's like, where the hell are we supposed to find initiate relationships? How is that supposed to happen?
The lament I had for years and years until I met my wife.
And if you talk to most couples, they will admit that one was initially less interested at the very beginning, and that it required a certain level of persistence. And so one of the things I do, I have two boys, 12 and 15, is I make them talk to a stranger every time we go out. And my 12-year-old really struggles with it. And we'll sit outside my door for 20 minutes and we'll let them in the house. I'm like, just go talk to that woman, ask her what the breed of her dog is. Just go say hi to that guy. But we've told young men that anything around what is it indicates male behavior, being more risk aggressive, being more physical, initiating contact with someone they might be romantically interested in, that somehow that's toxic. No, it's not. Well,
it's part
of being a man.
I mean, think about the rules of the game. So if you're a woman and you're single and a guy walks up to you and says hi and he's attractive, or you're attracted to him, then it's no harm, no foul.
Romantic comedy.
This is a great day. You're single. Yeah. He's attractive. You're attracted to him.
That's a meet cute.
But if you have a boyfriend, which he would have no way of knowing, or you're not attracted to him, which he would have no way of knowing again, then it's toxic masculinity and a faux pas.
Yeah.
Right. How would one operate under those set of rules for anything in life? I mean, it would be like for riding the subway or getting into a movie theater. Like, oh, well, if the guy taking the tickets is single, but you won't know it, and he thinks you're attractive, but you have no way of knowing that in advance, then you can come in for free. But if you try and he's not, or he is taken, then he will tackle you to the ground. Like, it's an unnoble thing. It's a bridge too far. Now, not slapping her on the ass and saying, hey, toots, how about I buy a highball? That's avoidable.
Well, shit. That's what I was doing wrong the whole time. I wish I'd known that.
That we can all live with. But the part where you just initiate, that's insane to call that masculine, toxic masculinity. And by the way, women don't want that. Most of the shit that's being pitched on their behalf, I don't think they've signed off on it. I feel the same way about passion fruit iced tea. I don't feel like most Americans signed off on that deal with the devil. And I think most single women appreciate guys saying hi in a respectful way.
Well, yeah, probably most, but there's always that risk. I refer you back to an oldie but a goodie.
Don't fucking say hello to me, bitch. Don't fucking say hello. I don't play that sexual harassment shit. Let me get your address. Bitch, you don't fucking say hi to strange women you don't know, bitch. 38 492. Bitch, you should have been sexually harassing me. I can call the cops on you for that. Fat. Who the f- you think you're talking to? Don't f***ing say hello to me.
Then get guns on. You shouldn't be
No,
here.
bitch, I should be here. Why the f*** you gonna say I shouldn't be here?
Why shouldn't I be here saying hello to people?
Don't f***ing say hello to me.
I'm gonna call the cops.
Go, bitch, do what the f*** you wanna do.
And I mean, what is respectful? What is respectful for one woman is disrespectful for another woman. And it's just really about a matter of feeling it and being able to read. I can't tell you how many times somebody came up to me and said, how come you're not going out with that girl? I'm like, what are you talking about? That girl that you've been talking to, she's really interested in you. I'm like, she is? I'm just totally clueless. I'm one of those unfortunate people, probably on the spectrum, who doesn't understand social cues a lot of times.
Yeah, you had me at highball. Like, let's grab a highball with Angie Dickinson at the Bolo Lounge. You're definitely dating yourself.
I know.
I used to party with this cool cats in Cuba. Anyways, at the end of the day, I agree. And the difference between a romantic story you'll tell the rest of your life and calling HR is how attractive the man is.
Right.
And
or how attracted you are to the man, which we don't
exactly.
really, because women do play by a different set of rules than guys in terms of attraction. We can narrow it down very easily as to what women are attractive because we just throw numbers at it. You know what I mean? Waist size, bra size, hip size, height, eyes, whatever. It's a pretty simple equation. Women are attracted to guys who could be considered unattractive all the time. And so with that in mind, how do we know?
This is one thing that I point out. It comes to the online dating thing, how women rate most men, they rate like 80% of men below average on online dating. And the reason is because women look for other cues when it comes to attraction. Men do too, but men are mostly like, dude, you're hot, you're nice, you're younger than me, let's go. That's all it takes, really. And you don't have to be younger than me or nice if it's just for like a short-term thing. So, but women look for, like, how does he carry himself? How does he talk to me? Does he make me laugh? Does he this, that, the other thing? All these other qualities that you can't convey as well online.
And what's to stop that guy?
so there's some dynamics here. So women are generally, and there's research behind this, are attracted to men for three reasons. And if we're gonna have an honest conversation, we have to have an honest conversation about mating. First and foremost, they're attracted to men who either have resources or signal the ability to garner resources in the future. It's very biological. They're vulnerable during pregnancy. They want a person who can protect them and protect their children. And that in today's capitalist society mostly comes down to professional success and economic security. Two, they want someone that's intelligent.
I take issue with that. When women say they want an intelligent man, or this notion that women want an intelligent man, in my experience, it means that the woman wants somebody who is emotionally intelligent and or understands and agrees with them. It's not about real intelligence. You notice how there's the old stereotype that intelligent men can't get women. That's a stereotype that's been around forever. Like the nerdy guys, the scientist, the engineer is not attractive to women. The bookish guy is not attractive to women.
If you're smart, you're more likely to protect your family. The fastest way to communicate intellect actually is humor. I would bet the majority of women you had relationships with, Adam, was a function of your humor. And then the third thing is kindness. It doesn't matter how
Thank
rich you are.
Maybe, but keep
It doesn't
going.
matter how. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. If you're an asshole, over the long term, people don't want to mate with you. And the problem is now 1 and 2 relationships post-COVID are beginning online. And it's very hard to demonstrate too intelligence and kindness and pheromones and humor and vibe. The wonderful thing about sexuality is there's so many weird things that come into it. Smell. I've always thought if you can make a woman laugh, she'll go on a date with you. You can't get that across online. The only thing you can get across online is kind of how rich you are, your credentials. So if you went to MIT and you just started a KKR and your Rolex accidentally slips into your profile picture, you're going to do just fine on Tinder. But the thing is, women have much finer filters. Women are much choosier than men. If you go into a large room of men and women, when there's alcohol involved, the majority of the men would sleep with the majority of the women. The majority of the women would sleep with none of the men. And so what you have is women can apply those filters online. And what you have is a mating inequality that's greater than income inequality. And that is, there's 50 men on Tinder, 50 women on Tinder. 46 of the women will show all of their attention to just 4 men. And you think, well, what's the problem with that? They're all interested in the same person. Well, the 5% of men who are now having 80% of the sex engage in partial polygamy. They're not encouraged to establish long-term relationships. It doesn't lead to good behavior. The bottom half of men online, in terms of attractiveness, literally are shut out of the market. They get validation. They have no worth. No women will even swipe back. They have to match 200 times to get 1 coffee. It takes 5 coffees to actually have 1 coffee. So they have to swipe right, connect with 1,000 people to get 1 coffee. So they get very upset. They get validation that they have no value to women. And you end up in a scenario where there's less household formation, less mating, we're going into a birth decline.
All I can say about that is good. The United States is the 3rd most populated country in the world. There's entirely too many people here. 330 million people. I know a lot of you out there probably disagree with that, but man, I come to California and it's just like people are freaking everywhere. It's probably the same in parts of the East Coast too. This is going to get worse because the population is only growing.
because random encounters with people in person creates different types of attraction. I wasn't attracted to him or her initially, but I got to know them. I found them funny. I like the way their body language is. I like the way they treat their parents, whatever it might be. People fall in love, and there's less encounters, less randomness now, and it really hurts the bottom 90% of men in terms of attractiveness. And it just makes it a little bit worse for all women in general, because they all want the same man online, and that dude has too much opportunity. So we're end up in this kind of Porsche polygamy meets mating inequality that's resulting in lower household formation.
So that's the end of his talk about men and women and what people are going through in the dating world. He does talk about a lot of other stuff. The actual video is 2 hours long. Scott Galloway is only in 1 hour of it, so we covered a few minutes, less than 10 minutes, I think, of what he was saying. I'll leave a link to it down in the comments. Go ahead and check that out. He does have a lot of interesting things to say. I do want to thank everybody for stopping by and watching my videos, especially if you made it this far in. Do appreciate it. I hope today I earned your subscription to my channel. I'm also over on Rumble and on X, whatever X means. And please, if you liked it, drop a like on it, leave a comment, let me know what you're thinking. And now I got your palate cleanser, which is just this crazy little rat.